The world watched this week with bated breath as Prime Minister Mark Carney met with President Donald Trump in a highly anticipated meeting. The setting was Washington, D.C., a city that has seen its fair share of historic negotiations. The backdrop was a trade war that had been escalating for months. The meeting itself was official, with cameras capturing every moment, the stakes sky high, affecting millions of lives. The 2025 tariffs loomed large over the conversation, casting a long shadow on the future of U.S.-Canada relations and potentially altering the economic landscape. The meeting was cordial but direct, with both leaders keenly aware of the stakes. A diplomatic dance, no doubt, filled with careful words and measured tones. But behind the pleasantries, a sense of urgency was palpable, as both sides sought to find common ground. The tariffs, reintroduced by the Trump administration on Canadian aluminum, dairy, and timber, had bitten deep into both economies, causing significant strain on industries and workers alike. Carney, ever the diplomat, was there to talk business, aiming to ease tensions and find a path forward. Mark Carney is no stranger to the world stage. His resume reads like a guide to global finance: former head of the Bank of Canada, former head of the Bank of England, a man who steered both countries through financial storms, a man who understands the language of markets and the anxieties of nations. Carney brings to the table a rare combination of financial acumen and diplomatic finesse. He is a known entity in international circles, having navigated the complexities of the G7, IMF, and World Economic Forum. He speaks the language of global finance, but also the language of diplomacy. The economic well-being of two nations hung in the balance this week. The tariffs, a thorn in the side of the U.S.-Canada trade relationship, threatened to upend decades of economic integration. The meeting, therefore, was more than just a photo opportunity. It was a high-stakes negotiation, with far-reaching implications. For Canada, the tariffs represented an existential threat. Its economy, heavily reliant on trade with the United States, felt the pressure. The Canadian dollar fluctuated nervously. Foreign investors watched with bated breath. The meeting was a chance to stem the bleeding, to find a way out of the trade quagmire. The Canadian economy under fire. Tariffs take their toll. The economic pain inflicted by the tariffs was real. Businesses across Canada felt the squeeze, from large factories to small family-owned shops. The ripple effects were widespread, affecting not just the business owners, but also their employees and local communities. Canadian lumber, a staple of the North American construction industry, faced steep duties, driving up prices for American builders and hurting Canadian exporters. The increased costs were passed down the supply chain, making housing and construction projects more expensive for everyone involved. The dairy industry, a source of livelihood for countless Canadian farmers, reeled from cancelled contracts and a glut of unsold products. Farmers were left with no choice but to dispose of excess milk, leading to significant financial losses and emotional distress. The aluminum sector, a pillar of Canadian industry, braced for layoffs as tariffs disrupted supply chains and squeezed profit margins. Factories that once bustled with activity now faced uncertainty, with workers fearing for their jobs and the future of their industry. The situation was dire, demanding immediate attention. Protests erupted in cities, with citizens and business owners alike calling for relief. The social fabric of communities was strained as economic pressures mounted. The longer the tariffs remained, the deeper the scars on the Canadian economy. Each passing day without resolution meant more businesses closing their doors, more jobs lost, and more families facing financial hardship. The art of the deal revisited, Trump's calculated move. Trump, for his part, faced his own set of pressures. The political landscape was shifting rapidly, and he needed to adapt. His supporters were growing restless, and the opposition was gaining momentum. The 2026 midterm elections loomed, and the economic anxieties of his base could not be ignored. The stakes were high, and every decision he made could tip the scales. The tariffs, while intended to protect American jobs, had also led to higher prices and supply chain disruptions. These economic challenges were becoming a significant talking point among his critics. The meeting with Carney, therefore, presented an opportunity for a course correction. It was a strategic move, one that could potentially shift the narrative in his favor, a chance to de-escalate the trade war without appearing weak. It was a delicate balance, requiring both strength and diplomacy, a chance to appease disgruntled industries and voters back home. The American public was watching closely, and their support was crucial. But whether this meeting would lead to a genuine thaw in trade relations remained to be seen. The outcome was uncertain, and the stakes were incredibly high. The world was watching, waiting for the next chapter in this high-stakes economic drama. Every move, every word, would be scrutinized by both allies and adversaries alike.